Also breaking tonight, Governor Inslee confirming the federal government is increasing personnel here in Seattle, tweeting late tonight that there are indeed a limited number of federal agents on standby in the area.
The governor added it is critical that the administration only provide what is needed by state and local officials and do not engage unless asked. It's just one of the breaking stories we're following tonight, including the latest on Governor Inslee's major changes to the state's reopening plan. But first, we want to take you live out to Portland tonight. Downtown, protesters once again gathering downtown after last night's violent clashes between rioters and federal police. Federal officers, that is, tonight a federal judge granting a temporary restraining order blocking federal agents from dispersing, arresting, or using physical force against journalists and other people legally observing demonstrations. Last night, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler got in the middle of all of it, was tear gassed by federal officers while protesting the federal government's presence along with protesters. Tonight, King County Executive Dow Constantine is confirming federal officials are ramping up activity in Seattle. He says he's received information that a federal government plane landed at Boeing Field tonight with more than a dozen personnel on board. KOMO's Joel Marino's live with Homeland Security's latest preparations for the city. Joel?
Mary, we're being told that these tactical teams are in place just in case. Now, other agents may have already been stationed here, and they can be quickly reassigned to protect federal property or possibly address protest activity. Seattle may not see federal officers taking up positions the same way as they have in Portland, but they are here and they are ready to go.
Both DHS and DOJ have tactical teams that they send around the country for various operations.
Retired FBI agent David Gomez says it's routine for Homeland Security to redeploy forces as needed.
But if they did, that wouldn't necessarily be unusual, and it wouldn't necessarily mean that they were targeting protesters up on Capitol Hill.
Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin says she spoke with the Secretary of Homeland Security and was told DHS has no plans and sees no need to send federal forces to Seattle. He committed to notifying Chief Carmen Best and myself should that change. However, Homeland Security does plan to safeguard several federal properties in downtown Seattle, and the mayor has been told that DHS now says they have a limited number of agents in the area on standby to protect federal buildings.
If they send tactical units here and those units maintain a low profile, that's one thing. But once they become visible, they're going to provoke the more violent segments of the protesters.
Tonight, the mayor says if federal forces do intervene, she will do everything she can in her power to limit their actions. Back to you. All right, Joel, thanks. Across the U.S., cities are bracing for protests this weekend and here in Seattle as well, billed as a show of solidarity with what's happening in Portland. KOMO's Cole Miller live tonight with the latest on what's being done here in Seattle ahead of what could be a contentious showing. And Cole, I was out there tonight at the West Precinct. That wall you're standing in front of is something else.
Yeah. It really is, Preston, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, these nationwide protests are being drummed up to push back against what some groups are calling federal invasions. Now, out here at SPD's West Precinct, this is that concrete barrier you mentioned. It has been reinforced. To give you an idea of how tall it is, I'm about 6'2". It's a little taller than I am. Now, just behind it, windows are boarded up, as it appears this could potentially be some kind of target. For more than 50 nights, protests and riots in Portland.
I didn't expect to find myself getting whacked and hit like I was. That was surprising.
Jeff Paul, who made the trip down there last weekend from Seattle, says he stepped in when federal officers began pushing a woman. His night would end like this. And now he's suing President Trump and the Department of Homeland Security. And closer to home, preparations for a Saturday protest are underway at the West Precinct, as some businesses board up after a night of destruction. Surveillance video shows a mob of more than 100 people smashing windows, even trying to light storefronts on fire in Capitol Hill Wednesday.
This is just, like, not part of our system. This is not our vibe. This isn't welcome here.
And should things take a turn, Chief Carmen Best is telling her officers to stay back. And back out here live, another look at this reinforced concrete barrier outside of the West Precinct. Now, in a letter to her officers, Chief Best says that the department is significantly adjusting its deployment plan and continues to criticize the city council for restricting its use of crowd control devices. Back to you.
Cole Miller live in downtown Seattle tonight. Thank you, Cole. Unlike Portland, Seattle is currently under a court order that prevents the use of those devices such as pepper spray, flashbangs, and tear gas. Yesterday, a federal judge allowing for a ban on crowd control weapons to stay. It now takes effect on Sunday.